Welcome to the Nashville Audio Professionals Rick Tell in the Box podcast. And here we have today Michelle Moog Koussa. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Michelle is the third of four children of Robert Moog, one of the most influential and revolutionary technology developers in the history of music. Genius. And besides having a PhD in engineering from Cornell University, your dad was encouraged to play piano growing up, and did he play piano at home? And and did he encourage you and your siblings to be musical?
Well, he started playing the piano when he was 4. His mother was actually rather strict about that, and he got good enough that he was studying at the Manhattan School of Music, and he was actually offered to take the professional accompanist track. So he was quite good at it. He declined, but that's a whole nother story. So he did play a little bit at home, but not a lot. I think he was so busy working that he didn't really have a lot of time to sit down. When he did, he was rather rusty, although he was a really good player in general. But I can remember him playing and often exclaiming, "Ah, futz," when he would mess up. But I know he really enjoyed it when he was able to play. And he did encourage us all to explore music and play instruments, and all of the kids did. None of us really stuck with it for the long term, unfortunately, for one reason or another. But my eldest sister is probably the one who stuck with it the longest. She was quite an accomplished recorder player, like alto recorder. She played in some Baroque ensembles and stuff like that. My sister Renee played the flute and the oboe. I played the violin. I played the piano for a very brief time. I played the violin for 6 years, and my brother played the piano just for a very brief time when he was 5 or 6 as well.
And on the technical side, your dad's father, your grandfather, was an engineer, wasn't he?
Yes, he was an electrical engineer. He for Con Edison. He worked for Con Edison.
Right. Okay. So did you have a lot of did he have a lot of musician friends that would come over and play it or anything in the house, or that was just basically just technical stuff he'd do at the office?
I wish. Dad did not mix work and family very often. He did sometimes, but it was quite limited. He did have some musician friends over. They never played. Wendy Carlos, visited. Chick Corea visited. Eddie Harris visited. Isao Tomita visited. Of course, he was very good friends with David Borden and Herb Deutsch, but none of them ever really played when the few times that they came to our house.
Okay. Well, I'm sure he also met like Keith Emerson, because I know Keith had the big modular Moog synthesizer. Yes.
He and Dad were quite good friends. He just never came to our house.
Oh, okay. Well, that's understandable. Especially with 4 kids, having 4 myself, I know it could be a little distracting going on at the house. So anyway, he created fundamental concepts such as the pitch wheel. The Mini Moog was the first synth, I believe, to have the pitch wheel. The modularity from the modular series, the original Moog synthesizers, envelope generation, voltage control, but his only patent was his filter design, and those filters are to this day revered. Like people use them on guitars, and they're really like incredible. The favorite filters probably of all the electronic music synthesizers. And but did your dad ever speak about why he didn't patent the other concepts?
First, I should just go back and say I don't think it would be completely fair to say that he invented the pitch wheel. The pitch wheel first surfaced with the Mini Moog, and it was actually his team of engineers who collaborated and perfected that, and then he came in at the end and helped with it. As
Right.
far as many of the other things that you're talking about, like the envelope and um, I don't know that he considered those his original ideas. You know, he actually conferred with Vladimir Ussachevsky of the Columbia Princeton
Hmm.
electronic music studio, and Vladimir Ussachevsky was the one who kind of explained to him the kind of musical mechanics of the envelope generator. So I think that might have been part of the reason that he did not patent more, and he didn't wind up patenting anything until he had a business advisor who encouraged him to do so.
Right. Right.
But he
Okay.
never talked with us about those
Hmm.
kind of decisions. I wish I knew more about that, but it's just kind of, it was not where his head was until
Hmm.
in the very late 60s and early 70s.
Right. Well, the mini Moog was the, as you said, the first synth to have the pitch wheel, and and some people say like, well, the fact that it wasn't strictly um, patented enabled a lot of other companies to develop similar products, which in the end benefited the consumers, the musicians, and kept the prices. But even so, I mean, he needs to get the credit, even if it was his collaboration. It was his mini Moog,
Yes.
and that was a revolutionary product because it enabled musicians to afford and to gig, with synthesizers, which, unless you were, again, Keith Emerson, or somebody of that ilk with that kind of money, the modular synthesizer was very expensive. Um, and, around, I believe it was like $10,000, whereas the Mini Moog was probably, I don't know, one or
15
two thousand. Right, I was going to say
1,500.
1 or 2 thousand. Yeah, which which oops, which was, expensive, especially in those days, but it was doable. It was not $10,000. I mean those days you could buy a house for 20,000
Yeah.
some place.
Yep.
So to spend 10,000 uh, on a um, on a synthesizer, you'd have to be pretty wealthy, or a pretty accomplished musician. Um, so, and I got my first synthesizer, like I said, for my 21st birthday, and I'm nervous to tell you it wasn't a Moog.
That's okay. I hear that a lot. No problem.
It actually was the ARP 2600, which was another one of the first synthesizers. And but then I soon, not too long after that, about a year or two, as soon as I could get some more money together, I bought the Mini Moog, and they were both very different but similar. I mean, they were similar, based on the same concepts, but different. I don't think there was a pitch bend wheel on the 2600. Um, through my knowledge, from my recollection, there was not. And the Mini Moog, that was unique. So for solos, that was really the go-to synth for soloing. The other was great sounding too, but the Mini Moog was special for that, for soloing. So, and then at 10 years old, you moved to North Carolina, about 10 miles from Asheville. Was that a culture shock for you from New York to the South?
Yes, it was a big culture shock because it's actually, we were way out. We were 17 miles from Asheville. So we were in Leicester, North Carolina, and we lived at the dead end of a 5-mile long road, half of which was paved, half of which was not. Our driveway was a third of a mile long. We lived on an 89-acre piece of property that was quite secluded. So that was a big change from living in suburban Buffalo, where we had been. And there was a lot to get used to. There's, the language is a little different. The mindset, especially then, was a lot different than what I was used to, as you might imagine. And yeah.
Well, especially at 10 years old, you're very sensitive when you go to school because you're like the outsider from New York, the Yankee at that. uh, so that's why I was thinking about that, how it must have been a shock for you,
Well,
after.
it was. I excuse me, I just swallowed incorrectly. Um, the first time that I got on the bus to go to school, we were with a lot of kids who, were born and raised way out in the country. And we got on the bus, and the first thing they said to us is, "Damn Yankees, go home." I didn't even really know what a Yankee was at that point. I was only 10. But yeah, that
Right.
was how things started for us down here.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that happens. I mean, I had it coming when I moved to Long Island. But it was interesting. I mean, I'm from Italian extraction, Sicilian actually. And I moved to Long Island, and it was like the neighborhood I lived in, the school that I went to was like 95% Jewish. And so I was, different, but, but then once you make friends and stuff like that, as a kid, um, everything works out usually. Um, Kids are a
It
little bit
did.
more
It
forgiving
did,
than adults. They're not so set in their ways, and so. But anyway, so tell us about the foundation. That started in August 21st, I believe, 2006, formally,
Yes.
uh, and that was founded by you and your family.
And
Is
some
that
of and
correct?
some of my dad's colleagues kind of all came together and came up with the basic idea, I would say. But yes, it was formally launched on the 1-year anniversary of Dad's passing. But that at that point, I was working on it um, basically on my own with some input from my stepmother. But it was a year after the official launch that I became the executive director.
Okay. What is the mission of the foundation?
The mission is essentially to carry on Bob's legacy by continuing to inspire people through the intersection of science, music, and innovation, in a similar way that he did. And I don't mean by inventing synthesizers, but I mean by getting people engaged with sound to the extent that they are excited about it, that they are inspired about it, and that they think about the process of discovery and creativity through sound. So that is our mission, and the way that we carry it out is through three separate projects, which do overlap actually. The first one is Dr. Bob's Sound School, which is our hallmark educational project, through which we educate about 3,000 second graders every year about the basic physics of sound. Dr. Bob's Sound School is a 10-week curriculum that we bring into the schools in this area, and we are hoping to expand beginning next year outside of North Carolina. And we provide experiential activities for them. So our goal is that the kids hear, touch, and see sound in every lesson. And as opposed to a standard curriculum, which may be very worksheet based, ours is very hands-on. When it includes using a theremin and an oscilloscope and Our kids understand how sound is made, how it travels, and how it's heard. So that is a project that is very near and dear to my heart. We've been doing that for about 8 years, and we're really looking forward to expanding. We've had a lot of interest from all over the country for this kind of experiential STEM education. The other project is the preservation of the Bob Moog Foundation archives, which is a collection of over 10,000 pieces of material of all kinds: audio, photos, video, schematics. We have a collection of almost 3,000 schematics, as well as notebooks and correspondence and vintage catalogs, et cetera, et cetera. And we've been working on that for years. And those two projects, the education and the archive preservation, have basically merged and come together in our new Moogseum, which is a small interactive learning facility in downtown Asheville, North Carolina, that opened in May of 2019. And it basically brings Bob's legacy alive for people of all walks of life and all ages through experiential exhibits that teach them about history, science, music, and innovation.
That's great. That's just fantastic. Is the Museum have a virtual tour in your webpage, on its webpage? I think I saw something like that.
We have done some virtual tours, and we will be doing more. So if your listeners out there want to participate, they should just sign up for our e-newsletter list, which they can do on our website, which is moogfoundation.org. Or moogseum.org, either one. Mm-hmm. And but we actually well, I was going to say on Monday we're going to announce a virtual tour, but I think that by the time that this is released, it may be over. We are going to do a special listening party of the Abominatron tape. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's the 84-minute audio letter that Bob sent Herb Deutsch prior to sending him the prototype, explaining every single parameter of the prototype and what it did, because it was such an unknown instrument. And Herb actually donated that tape to the Bob Moog Foundation archives, and we had it digitized. And the person who digitized it is going to be in the Moogseum, sitting with the prototype, which we have in the Moogseum right now, through February 15th. And that's going to happen on February 13th.
So will there be a notice on the on Facebook about that, so yes. I can promote? So that I can promote that in real time. You know, as far as the promotion, and also I want everybody out there, and there's so many of us who have benefited from Bob Moog's hard work and technology and genius and ideas, to contribute to your foundation. I think you'll take contributions, and you know, it's just a great idea, and I think it's really relevant to the music of today. I mean, if you took out all the synthesizers for music today, it would be like, you know, like half the music that's out there, you know, would be gone. So it was brilliant, and it's also brilliant, you know, like you said, the collaboration with musicians. You know, he brought the technology and his ideas and together with creative people, and that's why, you know, as you said, that's why some of the ideas like the pitch bend wheel and all the music friendly stuff, the keyboard. I mean, before the Moog synthesizers that era, the synthesizers were played with punch cards.
Yes.
It wasn't like a, you know, it was like, you know, a punch card. There was no keyboard even before this generation of instruments. And you mentioned the theremin. From what I've read, that was very influential on your dad's getting into electronic music. He was a very big fan, I believe, of the theremin, and even that was his business, wasn't it? He make kits for some time and sold theremin kits before the synthesizer?
Yes, he started making theremins when he was 15 years old in the basement workshop with his father. And he became so proficient at it that at 19, he wrote an article for Radio and Television News, which was a hobbyist magazine, and about how to build your own theremin. And it was from that article that he basically created R.A. Moog Co., which did sell theremin kits and parts and assembled theremins.
Right. It's a hard instrument to play. I've tried. I played, I think it was is there one called the Big Briar? Um,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I've tried that. It's a great, I mean, it's well made, but I'm not, it's tough to play. It takes like, it's an instrument, just like the violin. I mean, you just can't, jump in on it. You have to really, practice just like anything else. Well, that's all great. That's fantastic. I want to thank you for all your hard work in preserving your dad's brilliance and all his great ideas, and how important it was. I want to thank you personally. I did actually thank him personally back in the '80s, and one time I got to speak to him because, I mean, again, as a keyboard player, it was a whole new world for us. The synthesizer. And he, and his collaborators created a whole technology that is still evolving today. I don't think that there would be any half the music technology, even away from synthesis, sampling and MIDI and all that, without his influence that he brought to originated. Well, anyway, so thank you very much, Michelle Moog Koussa. Michelle Moog Koussa. Are you in Asheville right now?
Yes, I live just outside of Asheville.
I was there once or twice. I visited the Biltmore House, which is probably not too far from you. I mean, for those people who want to go see the Museum, that's another good place to visit as a tourist. The Biltmore House is quite interesting. So it's been great talking to you. I wish you and the Museum and the foundation all the best, and keep up the good work, and have a happy new year, and hopefully a healthy new year. And hopefully, I'm sure the things are quiet as far as the Museum with visitors at this time with the
Yes.
COVID-19, but things will get better. And and I just wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you, Rick. And I just, if I could, would just like to remind people that the Bob Moog Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're not associated with Moog Music. Our support comes from our donors. So if your listeners out there would consider donating to the Bob Moog Foundation, it would really help keep us strong and growing, which is what we want to do.
Yeah, yes. I have posted on our Facebook page something about the donations, and I will again, especially in coordination with the virtual February. What was that? February 13th.
Yes, and we'll be announcing that on Monday, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Michelle Moog Koussa. I don't know. Remember, everybody, it's Moog, not Moog. Right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.